Hey guys, last week's video, not the last video I made was about Christina Grimmie. If you haven't seen it, please go and watch. But the video prior to that, I talked about supporting a musician. I saw a comment that I did not expect to pop up. This is by Hyun Seo Cho. I am sorry that I butchered your name. But she writes, I thought it was only me because I don't know what to do in university. I play the flute, but sometimes I don't want to practice or something. I just feel like there were people who were super enthusiastic and excited for their job. But I guess majority of people procrastinate what they have to do, even though they find it worthy afterwards. She's referring to the part of the video where I said that as a musician, you don't always actually want to practice or go to rehearsal. Yes, it's true. I do not think you're the only one. I am the queen of procrastination. I am now making material for you guys to procrastinate with. So let's talk about this whole thing. Is it a surprise that we as musicians, even passionate musicians, will sometimes, if not oftentimes, not want to practice? No, I do not think it's a surprise. I don't think it should be a surprise either. I see lots of motivational articles to get you to practice, or tips on motivating yourself to practice, tips and tricks on how to trick yourself into practicing. I think everyone is trying to solve a problem without facing the actual problem. The problem here is that we don't want to practice. We don't actually want to talk about that actual issue. We only want to talk about how to get ourselves out of that issue. I think that the reason why we don't want to talk about the actual problem of not wanting to practice is because there's a shame factor associated with it. If you have been in music circles long enough, you'll probably notice that people like to compare how many hours they practice a day, and it kind of gets a little bit competitive. Now, for some people this works because it's a really good driving factor and you sort of forget that you don't want to practice. But for the rest of us who are not motivated by competition, you just kind of sit there like, ugh, you practice 6 to 8 hours in a day? That sounds like absolute hell. On top of that, when you are in these conversations where people are comparing how many hours they're practicing, there's this fear, at least this is what happens to me, there's this sort of fear that people will find out how little I practice compared to them, as if I am going to be found out and I am going to be revealed for the imposter that I am. Apparently, this is actually called imposter syndrome. It means that you do actually do well in your field of whatever. So for me, it's the flute. But you feel like a fraud, and you feel like people are going to find out. They're going to find out how little you practice. They're going to find out that your instrument sucks. They're going to find out that you have never upgraded your head joint. So for me, my response to this whole competition thing, I find myself either shutting down or withdrawing. And what do I do when I shut down or withdraw? I go on YouTube. But here's the problem, is that when I'm going on YouTube, I'm not practicing. And that adds to the guilt factor, to the shame factor. And you just feel horrible. It's a double-edged sword when you are the type that withdraws. So of course, what I end up doing is, I felt like since I was on YouTube already, I might as well start my own channel in which I call myself out first, so at least I beat everyone else to calling myself out. Hence, just another flutist. It's sort of like this weird mental defense mechanism thing. Even I don't fully understand it, and I probably should go see a counselor about this, but posting on this channel has forced me to reflect on why I procrastinate. I would encourage you to ask yourself, why are you procrastinating? There could be a number of reasons. You could have a verbally or mentally abusive teacher and practicing reminds you of them. If so, you probably might want to think about changing teachers if that is possible. Maybe the material that you are learning is overwhelming. In that case, you probably can do what I do. I will tackle one bar at a time. And if even that is too much, I will tackle one beat at a time. and I will just learn that one beat, learn it good, then I attach the next beat to it, and then I learn that beat good, and then I learn the next beat, and so on and so forth. I just take super baby steps, and then sooner or later you'll find yourself just playing it and it doesn't feel difficult. Or maybe you have an exam or a recital or a jury looming and you just don't want to face it, and you don't want to practice your music because it makes you think of the performance that you need to put on, and that makes you nervous. I'm very much guilty of doing this. I know that the one thing that really helped me power through was that whether it was a recital or a jury or an exam, I would run through all the material the way that I will run through them at the actual performance, at least once per day, every day for at least 2 weeks leading up to the exam. So basically you would have run through it at least 13 to 14 times. And that really helps because it makes it so that there are no surprises at the actual exam. I assign it to myself, so I have to do it. It's not a matter of do I want to practice or not. There's more of a discipline factor. I know there's this really funny post on Tumblr or something. It's very vulgar. If I can find it, I'll put it in the info box below. The idea is that it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. And discipline has nothing to do with motivation. Discipline is making yourself do things even when you don't want to do them. Or maybe you are just actually completely burnt out. You know, maybe you've been in music school for a couple of years now and you are just feeling tired all the time. Maybe you feel like you've lost your passion for music. You just feel exhausted. You feel like, what's the point of keeping on going, you know? If you feel this way, you're burnt out. And if you're burnt out, it means you need a break. You will find that some people really look down on that. They think that that's you giving up. But the thing is, if you really need it, like if you are burnt out completely, you need a break. Even if it means you are gonna put down your instrument for a month or more than a month. Maybe don't listen to classical music all the time. Listen to other music and see if you can be inspired by that. I know for me, listening to soundtrack music is really inspiring because it's not your typical classical music, but it is classically based. Things like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack is beautiful. The League of Legends orchestral soundtrack, their volume 1 is very, very good. Oh, another one that I love is the Harmony of Heroes soundtrack. It's a fan-based soundtrack to go with Super Smash Brothers video game, if you guys don't know. It's completely fan-made. It's just so great to hear people, you know, in our generation applying classical music techniques to modern stuff and applying it in such creative ways. If you kind of branch out like that, you can sort of be re-inspired. At the end of all this, basically the idea is if you find that you actually do have some sort of problem and that is why you're procrastinating, you need to face it head on and solve it. Don't just shove it under the rug because it's just going to fester and get worse. But however, if there is no problem, what the heck are you doing on this channel procrastinating? In that case, I would encourage you to really think about why you're watching this channel. Why are you watching this video? Why are you watching other videos on YouTube? Or let's say maybe you're looking up random things on the internet, not porn, more so like interesting things. Like, are you into archaeology? Are you into space? Are you into history? Is there a theme to what you are looking up and what you are learning about when you're procrastinating? If there's a theme, you probably actually have another passion. It could be actually your primary passion, or it could be a secondary passion. And for me, anything that has to do with the behind the scenes of a movie, a play, or whatever, I don't care. As long as it's behind the scenes, I am all in. I just thought to myself, I can combine it with my love for music. And that's how Just Another Flutist came about. You know, Just Another Flutist came about from a lot of different sources of inspiration, problem solving. I would encourage you to really think about what you're doing when you're procrastinating and try and see if you can combine it in a creative way with your love for music. Because I think The world would be so much more interesting if we all did that. And there you go. I hope that made sense. Everyone has different reasons for not wanting to practice. And I would love to hear those reasons in the comments below. As usual, if you guys like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. My last video is over there, and if you want to catch me during the week, my social media network stuffs are down there. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Bye. And, there's a guy right outside my window. I'm just gonna have to wait until he goes away.